This video is from the course Introduction. It's designed for complete beginners and assumes you have no knowledge of the subject matter. If you are interested in more beginner, intermediate, or advanced content, check out our website submeta.io.
So we're going to talk about training mistakes, and by that we mean some of the mistakes that people make in their approach to training. And these are things that people aren't necessarily going to tell you about, but they're going to notice, and particularly your coach might notice, and ultimately they're bad for your development, but they're also annoying to your training partners, and they're things that you shouldn't do.
Things we'll be covering here, I think, are things that people are often unaware that they're doing, or they're often told that they're doing this, and they continue to do this, which is the real issue. So you want to make sure if you're paying attention to what we're saying here, but if anyone's given you any suggestion that you might be doing any of the things we're about to cover, then make sure you take it on board and try to avoid doing them. The first mistake we're talking about is going too hard. So what we mean by that is too much intensity. There's two main reasons why that is a problem. First, the chance of injuring your training partner. So if you're putting 100% effort, especially speed and throwing your weight into things, then if there happens to be a slight misplacement of someone's arm or leg, they could potentially get an injury from that. So we want to be slowing down because of that. The second reason is you actually want to be thinking about what you're doing. You need to be paying attention to what move you're doing, what's happening in the role, and what you need to do next. And this is really important so you can actually troubleshoot and improve and learn. And if you're going 100% with maximum speed and intensity and aggression, then you really won't be able to pay attention to those things and improve as fast as you should. So we generally recommend an 80% as our maximum. Okay, so if you're using more than 80% of your force or speed or power or anything like that, of your attributes essentially, then you're probably going too hard.
And if you go over 80%, usually you can't repeat what you just did to your training partner on a reliable basis. So we want to get to 80% so that we can reliably execute techniques. The second thing we're going to talk about is trying to hurt your training partner and or they're kind of both the same thing, applying submissions recklessly. So when you're training, you shouldn't be thinking of it as a fight. You're not trying to hurt your opponent. You're trying to train with them. Once you get into a submission, we want you to think of it as a control and not a thing that you're using to hurt your opponent. So the aim is not to hurt their arm in an armbar. The aim is to control them and make them tap. So we're going for the control, and we're not going for damage.
Talking while rolling can be an issue. One reason people might do this is they might be a bit nervous about rolling, and they're often almost delaying the roll by talking, but really you want to just get into it and actually train. The other thing about talking, which you want to bring up, is coaching someone, especially early on. Anyone who's watching this course, you're a beginner, you should not be trying to coach your training partner. That's something that we sometimes see, like people stopping rolling to start talking through a technique when you should. A lot of the time your training partner actually just wants to continue rolling and get their training in. So usually it's best to if something happens in the roll, take a mental note, and if you want to discuss that area, do it after the roll finishes.
So the next thing that we're going to talk about is probably the thing that's going to hurt your development the most, and that is no intent / no game plan. So if you're just turning up to training every day and all you're looking for is to try and scrap it out and see who wins, you're probably not going to go very far in jiu-jitsu. You want to have a set of techniques that you're working on and go to training to deliberately practice them. And if you're doing this course, you should be looking to implement the techniques that you're learning in the course, or if or maybe it's the techniques that your instructor is showing that day. But whatever it is, you need something that you're working on specifically that pertains to you. And that's really the way to fast track your development. But it's also something that your coach will be looking out for. They'll be looking for students who are actually taking their learning into their own hands. It shows dedication, and it shows that they're thinking about what they're doing, and that's what we want to see.
And one of the reasons we designed this course how it is we wanted to cover broadly each position. So by the end of this intro course, you really should, no matter where you end up, you should be able to see some sort of pathway to start implementing these techniques. So you could be on top, bottom, guard, mount, side control, no matter where you are, you should have an idea of what direction you need to take and what you should be doing with your deliberate practice. The last point is knee wrestling, which comes down to basically wanting to play on top. So that's not a bad thing. You generally improve your position if you can get top position. Where it becomes an issue is to get top position from a neutral start, you should both be standing up. You're going to play essentially a wrestling game and you're both going to stand up. If you start rolling on your knees, it's an unrealistic scenario. So don't spend your training time trying to take someone down from your knees. It's generally expected that one person, when you start from your knees, one person's going to concede and pull guard and one's going to play on top. And it doesn't mean that it's a win to play the top position. It's a good thing to practice playing from guard, deliberately go to your back and work the skill set of being on bottom and getting to top position that way. It's a really good skill set to use. And then when you are starting from a standing position, that's the time to fight for takedowns. So in summary, keep your rolls to a maximum of 80% intensity. If you're applying submissions, if anything, that's the time to go slow and really focus on control. Make sure you have a game plan. Every session you come to, you should be thinking about exactly what you want to work. When it's time to roll, leave the talking till afterwards, and be willing to work your guard. So when you're starting a roll, if you're starting from your knees, it's a great idea to practice and improve your guard by pulling guard.
I hope you enjoyed this video from the course Introduction on submeta.io. If you go to submeta.io, you can watch this course for free, uninterrupted, with exercises to help you with recall. Also for free, we have the follow-up course to this, Foundations 1 Escapes, which builds on the content you'll be learning in this course.